For a very long time, I think the fitness industry has really been marred by steroids. And not even the people using steroids, the people who use steroids and then promote the use of steroids. You shouldn't be educating your audience on how to do drugs. When it comes to TRT and HRT, first and foremost, all of this is done under the advice of a clinician. So you are doing this with a medical doctor who is, first of all, running your blood panel. Your blood work is the roadmap to understanding what is happening with you. Your body is a chemistry set that is changing just constantly. Maybe you didn't sleep properly. Maybe your nutrition is off. Maybe your cortisol levels are low. And we're Americans. We're still breathing American air, eating American food, and doing a lot of other things that are going to drop male testosterone. TRT is testosterone replacement therapy. This is designed to replace the testosterone that you may be lacking to get you to an optimal level and no higher. I've got friends that are in their early 20s, 21, 22. They're going in and getting their blood work done. They're at like 400, 300s. And it's weird. I'm like, for the longest time, the conversation was always had like, yeah, you can try TRT, but wait until you're 40. You want to wait until that's ridiculous.
Totally.
Wait until everything goes to shit. If you can get ahead of this, what kind of quality of life do you want to have?
You don't even know this, but the sponsor of this show, this podcast particularly, is Brandon Fougnies. Welcome to the Roller Coaster Podcast, my friend.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Dude,
excited.
I'm excited. I'm excited because for those listening, not watching, we've got a very different man sitting here in front of us. Like, look, I meet a lot of people. It's just part of my life. You can know, Brandon's one of these guys that when you meet him, you instantly know that this guy is different. It's a different guy, but he's like very comfortably different in his own skin. That's how I feel. I want to get into that.
Sure.
I think Brand, I just want to ask you point blank, what makes you, man? Like, what makes you unique? Because you're different. You have a different feel and a different aura and a different energy than I've seen in a long time.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Well, I think there's a lot of stuff that definitely could go into that answer. For myself, I'm somebody that I make the joke, first of all, that I am dramatically unemployable. I am not really capable of fitting into a function set by others. I am somebody who is driven. I'm certainly driven by my passions and by my creativity, which is ultimately why I believe today the things that my team and I have been able to put together has flourished so incredibly well, is that we all share that in common, that each one of us started with something that we just thought would be fun to learn, maybe fun to do it our way and see if it worked, with absolutely no expectation of if any of it would. And lo and behold, the audience seems to like it, and so it works, and so we kept going. And to your earlier question specifically, what makes me different? I'm somebody who is driven by that passion to succeed for the sake of the passion itself and not for other. I find so often when I talk to successful individuals, they have different metrics on what they would define that word by. And for me, that word would be passion. What's my definition of success? Did you follow your passion? Not money. A lot of people say even freedom. And I to me, it's your passion. If you are doing something that you were designed to do, maybe you make money at it, maybe you don't. But if you do it long enough, most likely you will. That's what I found. And to me, it's why I've had to surround myself with people who are much more conservative minded, people who are much more financially, someone in your equation.
Balance you out.
Precisely. Yes. Someone needs to think about the money when you're in any business venture. But for me, I'm not in a business venture. I'm in something to where I get to take what I've learned, my education, take what I love, comics, art, everything. And it's all now come into one beautiful little venture. And I say that because it is beautiful and it's very symbiotic when you can create something that has really good education behind passion and an incredible team. That's really what I see as equating to that type of success. So that to me, I mean, that's certainly something that I would see right off the bat when I meet new people, or if they ask me a question like that, like, why are you different? I mean, I certainly wake up very enthused as to what I do and what I can share with the world.
Man, I think it's like, as I think about what are the greatest compliments you could pay another man, I feel like that is up there with one of the best. Like, I think all men want to be unique. They want to be different. No man wants to be placed into a box. And so when you actually are, like, sometimes I feel like I'm just like, oh, I'm a run-of-the-mill, middle-aged white guy that, like, has done some business stuff. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
man, what do I want to be known for? Like, how am I going to differentiate and be different? So I think it's amazing. One thing you said was you know, doing what I was designed was the word you used to do. Like, do you feel like this passion is DNA from the time you were born, sort of designed by God or something else? Or is this like, did you become this through a series of events throughout your life?
What a great question. I believe that we are all made in the image of God. And I believe that what that actually means, I'm sure you went to Bible study at some point, we probably have all heard that phrase or expression. But I believe literally that we are all made in the image of God, and certain people have different parts of his imagery. And I believe creativity, because he is first and foremost a creator. Oh, yeah. Creativity, being blessed to man, is certainly one element where if you can harness that and use that, that's a gift. That's a blessing from God. And I do, to my soul, believe that when I'm being creative and when I'm doing something that I know aligns with what he likes, that gives me joy. It brings me joy because it brings him joy. I mean, I am a person of faith. I 100% believe that this is what I was made to do. And if you ask any of my close family members, my parents, my uncles or aunts or anything, I've always been this way. I've always been very different. I remember being 6, dressing up, Lord of the Rings, running around in my backyard. Like I was homeschooled. So, and that honestly, it seems like a lot of times people who were brought up in that setting are somehow labeled as very odd or maybe misfits, or they don't really fit in with society. Yeah. And I can understand that. Perhaps they have, a social crux that they're not really able to overcome. But for me, because of the way my parents did it, I was allowed to be creative. I was allowed to express myself. And of course, I was brought up with, structure in some way when it came to schooling, but I was allowed to be artistic, to say, hey, what do you like? I mean, you don't like this. What do you like? Well, all right, let's see if we can figure out a way for you to kind of keep doing this. And I went to school in the 7th grade, but up until then, I was given a very, very good foundation to build off of. And I've been a painter. I've done mural art, all that stuff since I was like 6 or 7 years old. And that's fortunately been able to be used in this, which is, of course, not something I planned always. But the point is I have always been very different. My energy, my passions, and the things that I like very rarely aligned with those around me, including my siblings. But yeah, that's definitely been something that I see has continued into my adulthood.
We have a brand that's called Levels, okay? And the basic concept behind Levels are there are levels to the game, right? Whatever game it is, relationships, finance, in this case, creativity, right? Dude, when you say you're a creative, like, bro, like, we're not talking like this guy knows how to, design a logo. I mean, look, we're talking like when you walk into his house, we're going to show this. We're going to show this video. When you walk into this is a home in a residential community in Gilbert, Arizona. And when you walk in, imagine LED lit ceilings and floors and murals everywhere and colors, all the colors of the rainbow from ceiling to floor, and, you know, epoxied marble looking floors and this gym set up in the house. Like, bro, it's like, I don't even know how you get to that level of creativity.
Mm.
What's this house all about, dude?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is this? Yeah. Like, what's going on in there, bro?
Yeah. Well, structuring the business out of a home-based setting was one of the early on ideas it's probably the biggest early on idea that has paid off in the long run for several reasons. We get asked a lot if we did this because of COVID, and the answer is no. We predated COVID by probably 4 years. Okay. So there is certainly business benefits to doing it in a home-based setting, reduced overhead, freedom to structure the setting in any way that you want. Yep. But it certainly has proven to be, for me, you've asked, several times, how did it get to this point, and how did it allowed me to go very slowly, and it allowed me to be meticulous with every inch, and it evolved over time. It was not something that I saw from the beginning. I saw the idea for it from a person who at the time was working with my father and had a basement gym that he was running. And that gave me the idea that this could potentially run from a home-based location for, like I said, the business benefits. But come to find out, as time went on, I started to realize, and my team started to realize, that doing this from the setting that we currently had it could be pushed a lot further than people said. That was the biggest setback that everybody around me, when I was first doing this, was presenting to me. They were saying, okay, you're going to run out of room. You're going to run out of ideas. You're going to run out of room. You're not going to be able to scale in this place. You probably shouldn't be doing this and making it such a permanent fixture to your home. How are you going to ever sell your home? All of that sort of constructive or non-constructive criticism is what I heard early on. Now, don't really hear that so much. Now, everybody, I think, kind of is starting to get it, and they see that, oh, well, I see why he did it this way. It is certainly an experience. And that to me was something that I wanted very strongly from the client side of things. I wanted the people that I'm working with to step into a place where they realize, okay, no, never been in a place ever like this.
Stepping out of the world when they come in there.
Exactly.
Right.
And I created systematic shifts in energy from room to room. What does that mean? So if you were to take a step into the door, it's a massive welcoming, like you said, you've got the floors are wrapped. There's LED clouds going up on the ceiling. There's characters everywhere. It's intense. If you were to step around and go into the recovery room, now all the characters are meditating. They're floating. We just did a deprivation chamber right off of the sports therapist's little studio, and they're meditating out there too. So it shifts. And then if you go into the gym, it's loud again. Now it's actually more of a battle scene. Now the murals actually change. So now you go into the gym, now it's like fight or flight mode. It's time to train. We do that. You continue around and it shifts again. If you go to the back, there's the infinity pool, the contrast therapy, all of that setup has its own unique energy. And
so wild, dude.
I have also seen that doing it this way has allowed me to get a collection of different artists, artisans, manufacturers. This is not by any stretch of the imagination my gym alone. This is a place that hundreds of different people have now had their hands in. These companies are sending us. I tell people, we actually haven't bought equipment in over 2 years. So everything we do,
the more wild stuff they can create, they want it in your gym.
And I have been fortunate enough to actually watch the industry shift right before my eyes. And I've gotten to meet some of the most incredible professionals at the top tier levels of the entire industry. And I get to work with them, and they get to send me ideas, and I get to share my ideas with them. And I get to work with some of these companies. We had a guy who came out and brought us this incredible new sled technology that has a cross-directional app to where when you're driving a sled, it's not just going straight. Now as a coach, I can do this and the sled will shift right and left as though you're hitting a linebacker. So that's just, just an example. There are so many incredible people working in fitness, and I love fitness. I love the fitness industry. I love being around the types of people who, first and foremost, they want to see you get healthier. And so being able to do that, being able to work in that space and work with those people has been the greatest blessing of my professional life.
Well said. I love it. What is the business exactly? Like what sort of clients do you take on? Do you have coming through there?
Yeah.
Tell the audience more about that.
Yeah. And this is certainly a conversation where I would definitely speak to the partnerships I've formed with my family members, specifically my younger brother and my cousin. My younger brother, as I was telling AD, he's my production manager for the podcast, and he's done the entire back-end infrastructure of all the content and the websites and the funnels, all that stuff. And then Jake, the co-host, he's come on and he is spearheading. Now we're doing a lot. We're doing a whole tier of online training. So first and foremost, in-person training has been capped out for probably the last, call it 2 years, to where we've had, and because people were right, they're like, this is an in-person service. You can charge people $150, $200 an hour, but you're still going to hit a ceiling. You're not going to be able to go anymore. You're going to only be able to take so many people in the day, and that's it. And they were right about that, 100%. I always had a bit of a pushback toward online training services of any kind, just because I've watched the scam artists.
It's too much junk.
So much junk. There's so much junk running amok in that part of the fitness industry. And so I've stayed entirely out of it. I've never been a part of it really up until like this year. We're going to be launching. When I told my team, when they brought this to my attention, when they said they wanted to do this, I said, look, I mean, I'm not opposed to it, but I'm not going to do something for volume. We're going to have to do this in a way that I feel mirrors the service we provide for the people that are here. Yeah. And that's period, the end. So that's one side of it, in-person and online coaching. We design home gyms, so that's another thing. We do probably 3 to 4 a year. We haven't really focused the marketing in that area yet, but that's been hugely beneficial. That's very, very cool, because our place basically acts as a showroom. A lot of locals. It's primarily local Arizona residents. They'll come and they'll look and they'll be like, oh man, like that, and we'll design their gyms. And then this year also, we're creating, we've been creating I was telling AD, it's a genetics-based supplement line. And it's going to be a medical grade. It's not going to be, protein and aminos. It's going to be more HRT, TRT, total evaluation, blood work panels, working with that sort of thing. Yeah. That's in the works as well. So a few different things. We've got the services, 4 in-person services that run between me, our second trainer, and our sports therapist, and then all the other stuff that we've diversified outside of the physical space that is the gym.
Why? What do you care about?
I definitely say that it's a total cliche, but I definitely care about people. I care about my people. I care about the happiness of somebody around fitness. That's something I think is missed. And a lot of people miss the mark simply because they have bad education, or maybe they had a bad run-in with a coach that, took advantage of them or did them wrong or didn't know what he or she was doing. All of the above has certainly been brought to my attention by clients and prospective clients throughout the years. What I want is to make fitness fun. And that is something that I think plays very nicely with the theme and the branding that we've leaned into. The superhero thing is, first and foremost, it is very cool. They look exactly how we want to look in all the comics. They're always 225 jacked, 3% body fat looking gods. And I, of course, that side of it attracted me because, like I said, I'm an artist. I love to paint and draw. I've done models, all that kind of stuff throughout my lifetime. But I wanted it to be fun and enjoyable. And the look on people's faces when they get to see all that. They may not have any understanding of advanced periodization, how to structure a workout program based on their needs, but they'll know what Ironman is. They'll know the feeling associated with seeing Captain America or Deadpool or something like that. It usually brings them joy. So to me, I loved doing that part of the branding because I wanted to, as I said, I wanted to bring people joy when they came into my space for exercise.
Mm. Let's talk about, I want to spend a little bit of time talking about HRT, TRT, some of these, maybe peptides, some of these things that are becoming more normal and acceptable now, which is great, I think, right? At some point. But what I want to talk about here is you've got all this Avengers, Marvel, superhero stuff, okay? There is a right answer here, okay? Who is the best superhero?
Ooh.
And why?
Okay. I think for me, I think it's Wolverine. My personal favorite. I dance back and forth between either Iron Man, Wolverine, or Spider-Man. I think Wolverine, for me, the comics were always my favorite. Loved his story. I loved it. He's this immortal mutant who hates being alive. He has these incredible skills and gifts, but he doesn't want to use them. He's just this really conflicted guy. And I love that I like the heroes or the characters in stories, not just Marvel characters, but any characters that have both sides to them, that aren't just so inherently good all the time. That's why I don't particularly like Captain America or Superman or any of those characters where it's like just he's the good guy. He's the good guy, and we all accept him as such. Then that's the story. I heard something once that really the only difference between the villain and the hero is what they did with the pain from their past. And if you look at the stories, that's very true to life. Wow. Because, I mean, you look at, usually the villains will be identified as some sort of a defect, or the Joker with the scars, and that type of person took the pain from their past and said, the world hurt me. I'm going to do everything I can to hurt the world back. Yeah. And you look at the hero. You look at like Bruce Wayne. I mean, same thing. Man, the world hurt me, but I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that no one else is hurt like I was. Yeah. I like heroes that have both sides of that coin. And I think Wolverine does a great job. That character is so well written. It's incredible. And so, yeah, to me, and of course, Hugh Jackman did such a great job with them. That's the other thing. It crossed over to movies so incredibly well. I'm super excited for the new Deadpool. Deadpool's another one. And Deadpool is one that I think is so much fun because it just brings comic relief. And we all need that because ultimately these are movies that are here for entertainment, and you can't take it too seriously. I think Ryan Reynolds did such a good job with that character, making it like that, like making fun of himself, making fun of Disney, making fun of the MCU. I love that his character does that. It sort of speaks into existence what a lot of the audience is thinking. Like, why do these movies all suck all of a sudden? Well, it's because Disney took control of it. Now he's making fun of that in the trailer for the new Deadpool movie. I love it. I love what he did with that character too.
Okay, so
what about you?
Great answer, but wrong.
Okay, yeah, hit me.
Iron Man, 100%.
Iron Man
is the guy, right?
Why?
I just think I'm really into cars. I'm really into I like nice things,
Sure.
And Stark Enterprises. I mean, it's just like the cool, right? Just the cars and the garages and all the stuff. But then the fact that he gets to a place where he's virtually indestructible. And I think most superheroes can be taken down. And I think about it this way, right? Like, if all superheroes had a battle, take all the villains out of the equation. Superheroes go to battle.
Okay.
By the way, I'm not a huge huge guy, by the way.
Yeah.
All superheroes go to battle. I think last man standing, Iron Man comes out on top. What do you think?
How in the world do you draw that conclusion? Iron Man coming out on top of Doctor Strange, Iron Man coming out on top of the Hulk.
Well, you give me your case.
I think
who wins the battle between superheroes?
Depends on who's in it. I don't think people also realize just how vast the Marvel Cinematic Universe truly is. There are characters that we haven't even seen. Sentry hasn't been shown. There's so many characters that will destroy anyone. Of the people we've seen in the movies, we'll just use that. Doctor Strange most likely comes out on top. Most likely. He's not my favorite, but I like his character. He's very cool. Same thing, sort of a very conflicted guy. He's arrogant, but he cares ultimately, but he messes up. And we see that a lot in his stories where he will dissolve an entire universe because of his decisions. But I think in an all-out going, I love Tony Stark. Don't get me wrong. My favorite part about him is how his story ended in the Endgame. My opinion, they probably should have stopped the Avengers at Endgame. Endgame was a perfect ending. Literally, it was in the name. Yeah. And because his big conflict throughout his story arc was always that Tony was out for Tony. He had his best interest at heart. Yeah. If everybody else managed to benefit from it, that was great. But ultimately, and that's why him and Captain America never got along, because Captain America was the opposite. He didn't ever think about himself. He only thought about others. But I love, love, love the way they concluded it. How he sacrificed himself to save the world. And there's no better ending for a superhero than that. And Robert Downey just did such a tremendous job of that character too. He's
a beast. I actually got to work with him for a little bit, which was
Did you really?
Amazing. Oh, yeah. So he has a venture capital fund, and so I was involved in that for a while, which was a blast. And he's just an amazing guy too.
Yeah, man.
Okay, so you take all the villains and you put them in an arena. Okay. By the way, I want to circle back to the characters who we haven't seen, because you're into the comics too, right? Like, so definitely. You know a lot of the characters that haven't been in Hollywood, for example.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the known villains. Death match. Who wins?
Known villains out there. My opinion is probably going to be somebody called Null, Knull. I want to pull up a picture of him when you show this part. This is a guy he's the god of the symbiotes. And the symbiotes, if you remember, that's what Venom is. So that foreign substance that lands on Earth, that black tar that converts and makes a person into, he's the god of that race. And he comes to Earth in a comic called The King in Black. And he takes out, in this, it's a tremendous comic. He takes out the Avengers, he takes out the X-Men. He basically covers the whole Earth in that substance and takes it all over and destroys it. And I don't want to give too much away, but he's probably, we will see him, by the way. He's already in the making. They're talking about who they're going to cast. We're working toward that. There will be stages to this. They will never stop making these movies.
Yeah.
Never. That is another thing you could talk about, is the brand awareness with what we're doing, and the fact that it's being maybe silently propelled by all the movies that keep going. The brand around that will never disappear.
Oh yeah.
But he is probably my favorite villain that has not seen the light of day yet. We will see him after. You keep mentioning the death match. Secret Wars is coming pretty soon. Now, I don't know what they're going to do with Kang, because Jonathan Majors shit the bed so hard, but he is going to basically capture a bunch of the Avengers from a bunch of different multiverses and take them all to this gladiator planet and make them fight to the death. And that's what we're going to see. They've been cool. Setting that up for the last few movies. If you watched Ant-Man, the newer Ant-Man, which wasn't bad.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, it was good. It's I was truly saddened by what happened with Jonathan Majors for several reasons, but one of them being he's a tremendous actor and played Kang the Conqueror very, very well. So he is set up to be the villain for now. After he phases out, I'm told that's when we're going to go toward Venom, much more with him, much more with the symbiotes, and hopefully we'll see the guy I mentioned, Null. But yeah.
Who's telling you this? Like, how are you getting this information?
Well, I mean, I've known about the sequence of the comic books for a while, and to be fair, I don't know any of this for an absolute fact. I do have a dear friend of mine. Yeah. A dear friend of mine runs a comic shop down in the East Valley, and he's sort of got he goes to all the Comic-Con events. He's plugged into all the networks that follow this stuff. I don't follow this stuff the way he does, but he's been the one to tell me, like, hey, you're going to get Kang, and then they're going to transition to the Secret Wars, and then you're going to get this. But yeah, it's never going to stop. They're going to keep going. I just wonder if they're going to do them. I wonder if they're going to do them justice, and if not, why? You literally have the scripts are already written. Just follow the comic books. Get good actors. Follow the scripts that are already there. You don't need to deviate you don't need to make weird things change because the culture shifted. They're just write the stories the way they were written.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very odd sometimes, but yeah, that's where it's going.
What's the so comics similar to like sports cards, Pokemon cards, Magic card, like those are also incredibly rare collectible items, right? Comic books.
Some of them. You can get comics for $3.
Are there some though that like are originals that would be just impossible to get your hands on?
Oh yeah.
Do you have a specific example?
Anything original. I mean, if you could get your hand, there is an original Spider-Man comic. There's an original Batman comic. Anything like that is hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Do you collect any of that kind of stuff?
I don't.
It's not your thing?
No, it's not. And it's not that I, wouldn't, but I mean, if I were to collect a collectible, like one that is worth something,
yeah,
like you're talking $20,000, $30,000 for even one that would be notable to hang on the wall. That's the type of thing you'd be looking at. And I just obviously not really in a place where I'd be doing that right now, but I know they exist. I've seen them.
That's an interesting world.
Yeah, it's an interesting world. It's very fascinating.
What are your thoughts on The Boys?
Dude, I love The Boys. I don't hate the spin-off series and shows that we get from the superhero thing. The Boys is tremendous. It's egregious. Like, I have to prep people that I tell to watch that show. I'm like, you just need to know, like, this show is insane. Yeah. You will see things in this.
All the words.
All the everything. But it's I loved the last season the most by far. Homelander is, I think, what that actor has done with that character. I knew nothing about this. I love this. You ever seen Invincible?
No, I know about it, but I haven't seen it.
I'm as weird as it is to people. I don't really do anime. Like I'm not into it at all. In fact, that's probably the only anime series that I've ever seen. Yeah. But it's really good. It's really good. And the actor that plays Omni-Man is the main character from that. Oh boy. I'm trying to remember the guy's name. We talked about Aaron's his trainer. He was in the movie Whiplash. He has a bald head. He was Jonah Jameson in Spider-Man, but he did this character, and it's absolutely tremendous. It's a great show. And it's the same thing. It's a superhero spinoff with like evil superheroes, like realistic superheroes. I mean, if superheroes really did exist, I mean, in real life, most likely none of them would be good. Like most likely all of them would be corrupt in some way. Yeah.
Yeah. The Boys, I mean, gosh, they did an amazing job.
Butcher.
With that, 100%.
Butcher was great.
So there's a book that I recently read, which is called The Alter Ego Effect. And the idea behind the alter ego effect is that if you want to become exceptionally well at a skill that doesn't come sort of second nature to you, then you should develop an alter ego. The example would be, Beyonce, right? Beyonce grew up in the church. She was very religious, spiritual. All of a sudden she becomes this pop star. She would put on her cape when she went on stage and become a character called Sasha Fierce. And it was the only way for her to decouple who she is as a human, Beyonce, and the performer. Okay, Kobe Bryant, the Black Mamba, is who he was on the basketball court, et cetera, right?
Sure, yeah.
So in the book, the author actually gives the analogy. He says, I ask people all the time about Clark Kent, Superman, right? Who is the alter ego in Superman? Is it Superman or is it Clark Kent? And most people go, it's Superman, right? And he's like, no, actually, it's Clark Kent. Mm-hmm. So Superman is the actual man, the actual being. The alter ego, who he has to become, is the buttoned-up businessman, Clark Kent, to fit into society, right? Which I love. And you can actually, if you look at a lot of the characters, Tony Stark, you look at a lot of them, you have to ask the question, like, which one's the alter ego? Mm-hmm. Is it the superhero, or is it, because sometimes it's the superhero, sometimes it's the man. So it's kind of fun to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, it's interesting. It's interesting that you mentioned Beyonce and I mean, I think a lot of successful people do that. Yeah. I can't. I'll be honest with you. And I've had a lot of interesting conversations with a lot of very interesting people, and I've seen them do that. I've seen them switch. Yeah. And in my setting, typically it happens in maybe in a social media setting where were across from me and they say,
They're
hey, do you
the
mind if I take a
characters.
video?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, go ahead. And then they turn on the camera and they go, what's going on? And to me, to me, I couldn't, it's exhausting enough doing whatever it is that we do.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that. I can't. I think the reason.
What's going on?
Dude, it's bad sometimes.
I have an example for you that will make you cringe.
The caricatures people play on social media or play for their business, sometimes it's so egregious and over the top, like maybe like Liver King or something. But sometimes it's subtle, but a lot of people do it, and I just kind of can't. I don't have the energy, and I'm not a, I'm an energetic person, but I'm not really an actor. And everything that I present, it's time consuming enough just to do it. Yeah, it's be even harder if I had to be somebody else.
Totally agree. There's I have an example that I'll share with you. We talked about Camelback a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Prior to this, so there's a mountain out here called Camelback Mountain. I had a guy that I'd met that was huge, and he's a big social media influencer guy that I met at an event maybe a year ago.
Yeah.
And the next morning we were going to hike Camelback. Mm-hmm. He was in town and he brought his wife, right? And his wife like shoots all the B-roll for him. So she's there with an iPhone all the time, shooting B-roll. And anyways, he asked her, he says, hey, how you doing? She was kind of struggling going up Camelback. And she was getting sore, and she had an ankle issue or something going on, right? So she's just like, I don't know if I can keep going. This is really tough. My ankle's really hurting, blah, blah, blah. In the next breath, he starts rolling the camera, and he says, hey, babe, how you doing? Here we are at Camelback. Da, da, da. And she's like, I'm amazing, doing great. This is the best hike ever. And I was like, there's no way that just happened in the same breath. Like literally, boom, flipped a switch and was like, amazing. And I was just like, dude, that just feels so bad. Yeah. That feels so wrong to me.
Yeah, it's disingenuous, and you being there in front of it to feel it. Yeah, you're like, oh no, I don't like how that went down.
I feel like it shows through, dude. Like I feel like people aren't dumb. I think a lot of people can read through it.
I'm for a very large percentage of our time in media, the discussion and the consensus among the whole team was, look, we are not going to be a negative platform. We are not going to be somebody who goes out of our way to call somebody out, even if we think they're wrong, even if we think that they're, a stain on the industry, they're doing something wrong, because you get the energy you put out.
Yeah.
And for us, the decision was made quite early on that, like, we're not going to be calling these other influencers out. We're not going to invite negativity in.
Yeah.
But I am really appreciating what is sort of, it seems like now there are more people that are doing that, calling out people that are wrong, but they're doing it in a very correct way. I'm liking what's happening because some people need to be called out.
Yeah.
Some people, it's a big deal. We're not talking about the people that maybe embody a character when they're on camera to sell their product.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the people who are, truly being dishonest. They're embodying a character that is maybe, insulting or hurting people. They're putting themselves out there in a way that is dishonest or illegal. These are the types of people that need to be exposed. Yeah. And I think it's important for anybody if you've got a brand or you're an influencer, carry yourself above board, because you're in a setting now. Social media is bigger each moment that we're alive. You're in a setting now where if you're doing something that is disingenuous or something that's dishonest, it will catch up to you. It will catch up to you eventually, and I really do believe that. It's not a karma thing. I just believe that if you do it to enough people, eventually they're going to get it to somebody who's going to bring it out on their platform and expose you.
Well said. I want to shift gears and talk about some of these, I think you called them clinical supplements, right? Mm-hmm. So above and beyond proteins, aminos, this sort of thing, right? So This could be HRT, this could be TRT, this could be peptides, other types of hormone therapy, right?
Sure.
There's a lot of misconceptions, I think, still out there about what these are. Mm-hmm. Can you address some of those misconceptions and maybe even help the audience understand what HRT stands for, what TRT stands for?
Yeah. So HRT stands for hormone replacement therapy, and TRT is specifically testosterone replacement therapy. It's funny, we're talking about this subject right back to back after the scam artist subject. For a very long time, I think the fitness industry has really been marred by steroids, and not even the people using steroids, the people who use steroids and then promote the use of steroids. And I'll name, I mean, someone like Rich Piana. You remember Rich Piana?
Oh, yeah.
You remember that guy?
Yeah. Monster.
So for a very long time, his branding was sort of fashioned around the idea that, yes, I'm doing these drugs, but I am going to show you how to do them in a safe way, because if I don't show you how to do them in a safe way, you're going to do them anyway. So why don't I just do it? I don't like that. I disagree with that. What he's doing is illegal. What he was doing was wrong then, and it is wrong now. Yep. You saying I'm going to take it upon myself to educate my audience so they stay safe is wrong. You shouldn't be educating your audience on how to do drugs. No matter whether it'd be the same thing as if he was saying, "Hey, man, you know what? I'm a rock star when it comes to doing Molly. I'm so good at it. Let me tell you how you can do Molly in a safe way." Most people would be like, "That's illegal. Call the cops." Like, he shouldn't be doing this live on his camera. So right off the bat, I've noticed that the industry I'm in is certainly marred by the steroid use, and specifically the people promoting steroid use. Yeah. When it comes to TRT and HRT, first and foremost, all of this is done under the advice of a clinician. So you are doing this with a medical doctor who is, first of all, running your blood panel. I don't remember what percentage it was. We just looked it up. The number of Americans that actually go and get blood work done on a yearly basis, it's such a ridiculously small percentage of people. You can't even believe it. I mean, I'm somebody, I'll get my blood work done every 3 to 6 months because I just want to know what's going on. Your blood work is the roadmap to understanding what is happening with you. Your body is a chemistry set that is changing just constantly. Maybe you didn't sleep properly. Maybe your nutrition is off. Maybe your cortisol levels are up because you're stressed. Everything changes, and it changes certainly monthly. So you should be going to your doctor and getting your blood work done at least every 3 months, 3 to 6 months, honestly. And it's not even that big of an inconvenience to do.
Totally.
It's over in 15 minutes, and you get to know where you're at and where you stand. So that's the first thing I'll address, is that if you are somebody who is going to go down the road of hormones, testosterone, any of that stuff, the first thing you do is you go to your doctor and you talk, you talk to a doctor who is versed in this stuff, somebody who actually prescribes TRT and knows what it is and how it works. Yep. This is not a free-for-all, and nor should it ever be. Your levels, whatever your free-range testosterone is, whatever your levels bring back, your clinician should be talking to you and saying, okay, look, you're a male, your levels are here. To be optimal, we should probably bring them up 30, 40 points. This could be low for several reasons. I am astounded. I think I've met maybe 2 people who have gone to the doctor without taking TRT, gotten results, and came back, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm optimal, I'm good. I run at 900. I don't need, and that's rare. Almost all of us run low. Yep. And we're Americans, as healthy as you and I try to be. And, some of us have literally dedicated our lives to being healthy. We're still breathing American air, eating American food, even organic American food, and doing a lot of other things that are going to drop male testosterone. And I'm speaking right now with this conversation of mine, gearing it more toward males. I feel like this conversation is it usually resonates more with males when we're talking TRT.
Yep. But
it's for everybody. Women, and you need testosterone as a woman and as a man. Get your blood work done and figure out where to go. Then you get with your clinician. TRT is testosterone replacement therapy. This is designed to replace the testosterone that you may be lacking to get you to an optimal level and no higher.
Yep.
That's the only way that I have ever found that I would feel comfortable advising someone to go. If you want to go down this road, if you're feeling fatigued, if you've got low libido, if you feel like, hey man, I don't know, my appetite is low, I'm not seeing results, I'm not lean, I'm feeling, go. And young guys too. I'm talking, bro, I've got friends that are in their early 20s, 21, 22. They're going in and getting their blood work done. They're at like 400, 300s.
Yep.
And it's weird. I'm like, what? That's totally contrary to what we believe. Because for the longest time, the conversation was always had like, yeah, you can try TRT, but wait until you're 40. You want to wait until that's ridiculous. You want to wait until everything goes to shit. And if you can get ahead of this, what kind of quality of life do you want to have? That's really the only conversation you should have with yourself when making this decision. Do I want to do this now? I'm only 25. Well, I mean, do you feel like you need to do it now? Yeah. Did your levels indicate that you should do it now? Yeah. Well, then do it now. And that's really that's the only place that I feel qualified to give anybody advice on this particular subject. Guys, I mean, probably two most common questions that we get asked: how much did all that shit cost, and what steroid should I do? Those are the two questions that through our audience that we get asked the most. Yeah. And I tell my guy, I'm like, okay, well, if anybody is asking the steroid thing, just tell them no. Just tell them that, because I am not educated on steroids. Yeah. There are guys who know everything. Vinny Uzi came on our podcast. He is a savant genius when it comes to this stuff. He knows every single type of, stacking deca with Winstrol, you'll get this and you'll put on this. And for the bodybuilding community, that's not going to change. I could tell them, hey, what you're doing is stupid, detrimental, and unhealthy. Won't change. They'll still do it. They'll still need somebody like him to be in their corner to make sure that they're doing it the healthiest way. Yep. But he and I are different. I would never feel comfortable being that person, that go-between between my athletes and those drugs. Yeah. I would always tell them, no, if you want this type of advice, I'm not the guy to go to. I don't do it. I'm not knowledgeable on it. I'm knowledgeable on this. So
could he have done a better ad slot for our sponsors of this podcast? I mean, that was, okay, so you don't even know this, but the sponsor of this show, this podcast particularly, is New Level Wellness, which is it's a med spa in Gilbert that you may know about, right? Dr. Chris and a good buddy of mine who owns it, Denver Lane. And, I've been going in to see those guys to do my blood work and my panels now for a couple of years, and I do everything with them. And the reason I do everything with them is a lot of doctors that you go to, right, once you figure out that, hey, my test is low, I need to have higher test because I want to have more energy, I want to feel better, I want to potentially look better, right? All the benefits, like the testosterone is the fountain of youth at the end of the day, right? This is the best way to put it. And what these guys will do is literally I can go in, get my blood done, get my results back within a day, and then have testosterone show up at my door. So they will put it in a travelable, cold case, and they will ship it to my door. And then I don't have to be going into the clinic all the time to get my testosterone, right? So it's one of the things I love about them. Shameless plug, right? They're sponsoring this podcast.
Heck yeah.
I love those guys.
Do they have you on? Are you on HCG along with your testosterone?
Nope. Just TRT right now.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Ask them about that. Yep. That to me is, in my experience, that's less and less optional, more and more mandatory for men. Your testosterone will certainly spike if you take testosterone by itself. Yeah. But what you may find out is that you end up eventually with testicular atrophy. Yeah. That can happen. And that's probably the number one concern men voice when they decide they want to go down this road. Hey man, are my balls going to shrink? Like that's a valid concern. Seriously. Like, hey man, who wants to lose the boys? No, not me. So HCG is a wonderful option to run with your testosterone, which I do, to avoid that side effect of the testosterone itself. It basically,
what does it stand for? HCG?
Oh boy, I was worried. Can you look that up, bud? I'm not actually sure. HCG. Right off the top of my head, what it stands for.
This isn't like a estrogen blocker.
No,
is it?
It's not an estrogen blocker.
Because I do run an estrogen blocker.
Yeah, and that's perfectly fine. Be careful with estrogen blockers, as it has a tendency to dry out your joints. If you run into a problem where usually they'll tell you like, hey, don't take a lot of this. Like that's why. You want to always watch the estrogen blocker, make sure you don't overdo it, because if you dry out your joints, your synovial joint fluid goes in, you're never going to be able to go back. Yep. Never to where it was before. So just keep an eye on that. It's some big, big word, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah.
That's
HCG.
Why we don't know what
That's why we don't know what it's called. But it basically, it fertilizes you. That's what it does. So for men who are, maybe they're not worried about their testosterone levels, but they would like to get somebody pregnant, they are having trouble in that department. Nice. HCG is a prescribed response to that problem and will cause your fertility to go up.
I literally have multiple friends right this moment who would be doing TRT if it wasn't for the fact that they have this fear that they can't get their wives pregnant, which they're trying to have a kid. Yep. Right. So HCG would solve that.
Thank you to our sponsors over at Bucked Up. I love this company. I love their products, their apparel, and their supplements. Recently, they dropped the mother of all pre-workouts, Mother Bucker. This is not for the faint of heart. This will make you want to claw your face off. So don't get stuck in traffic when you're headed to the gym. I love these guys. I love this company, and I love their products. They are clearly the best tasting pre-workout on the entire market, and they're number one for a reason. Bucked Up is my favorite workout brand, hands down. And they also have my favorite apparel for working out and just for daily life. It's Lululemon-like quality, but for a fraction of the price that's affordable. So head over to their site, buckedup.com, where you can check it out. And for 20% off their entire site, use the code TylerHall20.
Great conversation.
Yeah, man.
Here's what I want to wrap with. I want to wrap with this. What is your purpose now? Like, what do you want to be known for throughout your life?
Wow. I think I'm still working on unpacking that, if I'm being honest with you, because that's a big question. What I want to be known for in my life, I mean, I definitely want to leave my impact on the industry that I'm in. I definitely want my friends and family to know and remember me for being a force of enthusiasm, somebody who participated in bringing them joy, somebody who, I spent my life dedicated toward fitness, but I did it in a very unique way, and somebody who really, really thrived on creativity. That I would say that's probably where I would see myself at today. I want to see it shift, and I want to see it get bigger, both what I'm doing, the number of people I can impact, obviously the number of people who see what we're doing and get to experience it. But yeah, I would say right now my purpose is to bring people joy, help them feel better in this life. I mean, we're all doing it together. We definitely all have that part in common. And I find that for me, fitness and happiness are both choices that we have to make. Yeah. If you want to be happy, you got to make that choice. And if you want to be healthier, you got to make that choice. And I think they go hand in hand. And I think they go hand in hand more than almost anything else we have available to us here on this earth. That's something really big. I mean, fitness, being fit and being happy are very close to one another. People don't really realize how close they are until they start doing the one. Yeah. Once you start doing that, and once you start changing who you are, how you feel, and how you look, those are three really big indicators of how happy you're going to choose to be.
Amen. Brother, Brandon, thank you for coming on the show, and that's a wrap.
Yeah, buddy. Why don't we pick up part 2 over at my place
we will.
Here in the next month or so?
Can't wait.